to have Santa Claus pop through just before to wish us all a very Merry Christmas. I'll open the meeting with our council prayer. Ask you to bow your heads. Mā te whakapono, mā te tūmanako, mā te titiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te whakamaumori, mā te araha, ka taia e mātou. By believing and trusting, by having faith and hope, by looking and searching, by listening and hearing, by working and striving together, by sheer desire and determination, by all done with compassion, we will succeed. Amen. Right, there are no apologies for today's meeting. We were due to have Father Christmas in public forum, but he has already been in a little bit early. So are there any notification of items not on the agenda? There to be none. Declarations of conflicts of interest in relation to this meeting. Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks, Your Worship. Section 9.5 referred to in the district licensing paper. So wanted to declare that I'll take part if needed in the conversation, but I won't vote.
Thank you, Councillor Gilmore. Councillor Sutherland.
Thanks, Ms. Tracy. Yeah, I just noticed that property brokers was referred to in confidential part of the agenda regarding acquisition of land, but I don't see a conflict of interest, but we just had some participation with Peter Wimsett in valuation, so just to let you know that.
Thank you, Councillor Sutherland. Item 14, response to code of conduct. I'll declare a conflict of interest there as well. Are there any other conflicts?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Councillor Johns. Right. Confirmation of the minutes. I can have somebody move those as a true and correct record. Moved to Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Wallace. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Page 5. 6. 7. 8. Page 9. Moving on to the minutes of the Dennyburg Community Board. Somebody move that those are a true and correct record. Moved Councillor Ward, seconded Councillor Peter Webber. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Okay, Dennyburg Community Board, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, one note just to double check that that letter had been sent to Meadowform and who was actioning that, so I'll follow that up. The minutes from Explore Pahiatoa, can I have someone move those to a true and correct record? Councillor Gilmore, and I'm happy to second those. All those in favour, please say aye. Sorry, please. Page 20. Just noting, I'll try and just email the secretary just around the spelling of your name, Councillor Gilmore. It appears several times, so I'll do that.
I'll note that at the next meeting.
Page 21. Sorry, Councillor.
Through Your Worship, it says here that there was no report from me. It was received in writing 4 days before the meeting, which included the passenger transport report. So I don't know why that's been put in there like that, but I'll make sure that's corrected at the next meeting.
I can probably clarify that they said it was an old report attached to it. So unfortunately, yeah.
I received it straight away. Yeah.
No, look, that's fine. Councillor Gilmore and I did speak and said that your report on the passenger transport was very good. So hopefully they'll re-put that at the next meeting. Yeah, and it's great that you put that in writing. Page 21, 22, page 23, page 24. Just noting the views that I shared in regards to the Christmas parade, and page 26. And it's great to see the minutes of Positively Woodville being included in our agenda. Can I have somebody move that those are received, please? Councillor Gilmore, seconded Councillor Johns. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Page 27, page 28, page 29, page 30, page 31. And then we have a second set of minutes from Positively Woodville for the meeting held on the 5th of December. Can I have somebody, sorry, are you happy, both Councillor Gilmore and Councillor Johns, to receive those again? Thank you. Page 32, page 33, one, and page 35. Just to note on item 9, the defibrillators. I did state at the meeting if the Waireka Trust has supplied the defibrillator, they will pay for replacement pads. So I'd certainly always recommend that you use that avenue first. If they haven't, if it wasn't a Waireka defibrillator, maybe Fonterra Grassroots Funds. That's just for any councillors where that's involved. And the minutes of the Eketahona Community Board dated the 11th of December. Can I have somebody move that those are received? Councillor Long, seconded Councillor Gilmore. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Page 36, page 37, page 38, page 39, page 40. We'll move on to reports. The recommendation from Audit and Risk Committee to read the adoption of the annual report. Now I understand that the auditors have finished for the year and this will be on hold. Sarah, do you just want to speak there and then we'll put this one to lie on the table again?
Morena, Your Worship, Councillors and Brian. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the annual report. You'll recall at our last council meeting we were hoping to adopt this. I mentioned that the infrastructure valuation was causing a few concerns. Well, not concerns, but some working throughs with the auditors. We've received their final changes as of yesterday and we have processed them. Unfortunately, audit finished today at lunchtime. So for them to provide clearance for us to adopt today isn't a possibility. So at the moment, I am waiting to hear back from Debbie, but this will likely be reviewed and confirmed for our January meeting.
I'm happy to move that item lies on the table. Seconded Councillor Long. All those in favour, please say aye. You in January. Thanks, Sarah. Right. Item 9.2, and Amy, did you want to come forward, the draft urban growth strategy? We do also have Daniel Batley joining us online. He had hoped to be here in person. And I think we leave the screen off just for Daniel because he's not well.
Through your worship, and
I've got my screen shared, so I can just talk to that if that's all good.
Daniel.
Bear with me. Unfortunately, I picked up COVID yesterday somehow, so I did intend to be there. So apologies, I'm not there in person. I am at home, isolating in my office.
Very sad
But
to hear that.
it's okay. It is what it is. It's unfortunately bad timing though for me, but it's all right. So yeah, so I guess the purpose of this morning is to present formally the draft growth strategy that we've been working on with an internal team, and get approval to go out for draft consultation early next year on this document. A lot of work's gone in behind it to really capture what it is that we want to achieve for the district in terms of growth, both in a residential sense, an industrial sense, and just population growth in general. And we've got to a point now where we have the draft strategy, which has been pre-circulated. We don't necessarily, hopefully don't need to go through that document in its entirety today, but have just got this brief presentation just to touch on the key points around what we've done and how we've arrived at what we have for this document. So the background, as we know, the growth strategy is sort of the first piece in the puzzle of a wider planning program to review the district plan. It was really important to get some high level aspirations in place that the district plan could then flow on from, and I guess make some changes in a formal sense to enable growth across the district, in conjunction with new planning frameworks to enable that growth on the ground, manage it, what it looks and feels like, and that sort of thing. But really crucial to get the growth strategy in place to inform that work that will flow on from there. It's been developed by Shannon Bray and the Wayfinder team with support from myself and Amy and a number of other council staff. A lot of reviews, a lot of time has gone into it. A lot of good conversations with both Ngāti Kahungunu and Rangitane around what we're trying to achieve and wanting to enable growth and getting their input into the document. So that has happened along the way. And now we're at a point where we're really comfortable that we've got a good basis to go out and test this with the public, take it out for a good consultation period, gain some feedback, and then pivot from there as we need to. So as you'll see, the format, it's looking really good, I think, in terms of the way it reads. It's really easy to follow. The front end is very much around capturing the context we're working within, both locally and also nationally in terms of legislation. Obviously, one of the precursors here is that there's potentially a lot of change to occur at that higher level, but we've kind of just disclaimed that a little bit and just put something forward based on what we know today, and if changes happen over the break or over the period from the national government, we can amend those in the early new year and pivot as we need to there. So the front end very much captures that position, works through basically this position here, which is the growth projections. Obviously, council adopted some infometrics work recently or earlier in the year, which paints the picture around population growth, housing growth for the district. We've sort of taken that a step further and really tried to capture two different pictures. The first being the facts, I suppose, from the infometrics work, and the second one being an aspirational picture and really wanting to capture this idea of, hey, we are Tararua and we want to grow and we want to enable that growth. And if we were to do that and take that approach, what would that look like on the ground? So you'll see through the numbers that there's the sort of the start point and then the aspirational picture as well. And these sort of provide us with the rationale around how much land is needed. The national average is around 2.3 people per household, so you can correlate that out. And then we've also worked on a mixture of different lot sizes, because for me personally, it's really important that we have a mind towards the whole housing continuum. And as I think I've said to council a number of times, I think there's a lot of gaps in that continuum at the moment in terms of the different housing options available to the people. So we're really trying to provide an end-to-end option for them moving forward around living opportunities from smaller properties through to the larger ones. So in terms of accommodating growth, there's a few different ways to do that. We're looking at enabling intensification, which is essentially your infill picture. But for a district like Tararua, a lot of the growth happens in the greenfield areas, and greenfield areas essentially means new vacant land for housing. So the document really captures both of those situations and says, hey, look, yes, there is capacity in our existing areas, but we recognise that housing trends suggest that people want new vacant land to develop to provide those different housing options, and that's where the rezonings come in. We've looked at opportunities for development of Māori-owned land, and there's through the national planning standards a few different options of how to best provide for that. A big message that was captured through our consultation with iwi is around the enablement of papakainga style developments, but also taking that a step further and not just enabling housing, but also enabling other economic opportunities as well on that land. So the national planning framework enables that through a Māori purpose zone, and that basically recognises that Māori-owned land is quite dispersed around a district, and it enables you to provide a planning response to enable growth in those areas. As I said at the top, another recommendation out of the document is that we develop some strong design guidelines. Again, sort of messaging to council over the past has been that we don't have a huge amount of control over growth or development in our current district plan. So we need to move to a position of being able to not restrict development, just have some meaningful commentary in there to ensure we're getting good design outcomes and good living environments and that sort of thing when this new housing starts to occur. So just briefly, obviously the main focus has been on the four town centres, Dannevirke, Woodville, Paeatua and Ekirahuna. We have a small sort of recommendation for Norsewood as well, just to tidy up the zoning in that place and introduce a multi-purpose zone, which just gives flexibility to the landowners out there to do a multitude of different things. But in terms of growth, the main focus is essentially on Dannevirke, Paeatua and Woodville, because that's where a lot of the growth is, or the demand is being presented. So the document contains these maps. Hopefully you can see, might be a little bit hard, but I'm sure you've got hard copies. But essentially we have an initial map, which is just the key considerations, identifies the opportunities and the directions we want to go for a township. And then the second map is the proposed district plan map, which covers off the rezonings and that sort of thing. So you can see on the left here, recommendation is for urban expansion sort of to the northwest. Now, that's very much about when we look at these areas, there's a lot of different considerations around compact urban form, proximity to infrastructure, proximity to roading connections, local amenities and that sort of thing. From good planning perspective, it makes more sense to have a compact urban form. And as we've talked about before, Dannevirke is already starting to become quite elongated, and we didn't really want to make that even longer. So we've looked for opportunities to keep it compact, and you can see through in here around where we've recommended the main residential growth to occur, because it is good proximity back into the existing centre, and all those different connections and features that I just mentioned. The other focus is also on industrial growth. having spent quite a bit of time sort of on the ground through down the southern part here, there is a heck of a lot of capacity in there for industrial growth for the district. So it's about just reinvigorating that, reigniting it, and letting people know that it is there and that development can happen in a more efficient way and really utilise that land to its fullest potential. So we haven't really seen a need for additional industrial land just purely because of the capacity that's down there. Woodville, again, in terms of Woodville, the biggest picture we're trying to capture, and it's really hard to do it in a quantitative sense, is obviously we all know the new road is coming through, and we all know that that's going to increase connectivity. What we don't know is what it's actually going to 100% result in terms of growth. So we've done our best to capture an aspirational picture here, which really recognises that Woodville is well placed for growth once that connection is there, but also its current landform, the current amenities that it provides and that sort of thing. So again, it's just closing out the square, taking the logical expansion area in through here to close off what's already sort of a residential area on the northern part of the township, where there's no flooding risks and that sort of thing, without other than some smaller minor pockets of ponding and that sort of thing. So again, just trying to capture the different opportunities, keep a compact urban form. The big thing here is the industrial picture. There's some opportunities to the south around the existing railway land, some higher ground land down here, but also trying to capture and provide for an aspirational picture where the industrial world latches on to this new highway and goes, okay, this is an opportunity here for us to do an industrial hub. And obviously from a planning perspective, we want to be ahead of those games. We want to be ahead of anything. So including provision for that is really good for us now to say, hey, we have identified that potential and we want to get our planning in place so we can get the ducks in a row to enable such a thing if it was to happen in the future. Again, Paeatua, pretty simple, quite limited with options in Paeatua because of the flooding risk. We've had recent data that's come through, accurate data, which sort of rules out anywhere towards the south for Paeatua. So the growth areas are towards the north. Again, maintaining the compact urban form. There's existing roading connections into this area, and again, proximity to infrastructure. And from what we know from the flooding information, risks can be mitigated, and engineering responses can be introduced to help divert water through this area to provide for growth. And then lastly, our Ikitahuna Northwood areas. As I say, Ikitahuna on the left here is just very much tidied up the zoning that's in place there, introducing this new mixed use zone, which is essentially a zone that enables commercial, light industrial, all sorts of different little activities to occur, which I think is really appropriate for that context, because at the end of the day, they are seeking flexibility to be able to undertake the activities out there that they want. So that's the response out there. And then similarly with Ikitahuna, converting the main street into a multi mixed use zone as well, to again enable that flexibility, so we're not hamstringing people that want to come in and establish in those zones. And then in terms of the housing growth, it's over here towards the west, where there's actually quite a substantial underlying survey plot for that area, roading connections and that sort of thing. So again, it's just a logical extension of what's already in existence. So in terms of next steps, as I say, today is very much just recognising that what we have in front of us is a draft. It's not the final picture. I think it's, as I say, really proud of where the team's got to in terms of this document and what it's covering off, the look and feel of it. And I think it really provides a great basis point to go out and test it with the public and have some more conversations. So from here, we'll have ongoing engagement with our two iwi partners. We have substantial work underway at the moment around infrastructure provision across the district to feed into not only this work, but also the district plan work. And then, get out on the ground, spend some time in the townships, hold some drop-in centres, and try and drum up some interest and get some people along to talk to us about these things. because that's the purpose of that month, is to really encourage people to come and have their say, and feed into what we've done. And at the end of the day, we'd love to know and where people are at with our thinking and test it. And as I say, off the back of that, if we need to make changes, we can, or we can have further discussions and that sort of thing from there. So yeah, that's a quick synopsis of where we're at. And yeah, really looking forward to and hopefully getting approval to move into that next phase.
Thanks, Dan. Council awards.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thank you, Dan. Sorry you weren't able to join us today. I hope you feel better soon. You can wear that jacket that you promised me you were going. Yeah, but on behalf of the Strat Growth and Planning Committee, as chair of that, I do want to acknowledge the work that you and Amy and Shannon have put in so far. I'm glad you've reflected this is still a draft. I hope you received some of that feedback that I sent through to the team on behalf of Bill Grant, which seemed rather appropriate for me and positive. So really looking forward to the consultation though, because that's when we have the opportunity to really get the community feedback that is so critical. This is one piece of that really important puzzle in the district plan and being able to enable our district strategy. So just wanted to acknowledge the work that's gone in so far and thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Wards. Councillor John.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate Councillor Ward's comments. Thank you, Daniel, and Amy and Shannon particularly, and the staff generally for the energy and purpose that's been put into us. But it's taken a while to get to this stage, but it's essential. It's probably the most essential thing that we've been involved with this term. Sure, there'll be some tweaking required, but as a consultation document, I think it's superbly well done, and thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Johns. Councillor Franklin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, yes, excellent. It was really interesting to read this and to follow the process through. So again, I reiterate what my colleagues have said. It's a really good report. I've just got one question, and I've been puzzling over it since we had our last meeting, and I should have asked it then. On the northern side of Pahia 2, the new residential block, that's Horseshoe Lane, that's the white line running into there. Those are lifestyle sections that have been sold there, 8 of them. So how can it be still zoned residential if they've been sold as lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing with rezoning to residential, it opens up a lot higher yield for people on the ground. So as you can see in this picture, they're quite large lots. And just because it gets rezoned doesn't mean it has to change. It just enables a future opportunity that if those landowners decide to, further subdivide those blocks, then they can. There's obviously a few different things to work through because they have been set up as lifestyle blocks and they'll have their own services, in particular on-site wastewater and that sort of thing. So those types of things would need to be changed. But I guess it's just a sign of growth. As I say, we need to expand our urban areas, and often it does pick up lifestyle blocks because they commonly locate closer to the town centre than not. It doesn't stop them from doing what they're doing at the moment. It just is a signal that there is a change happening in that area, and often what you find in that situation, I've seen it in a number of different cases, is those people will either still want that lifestyle living environment and seek to move, or they will capitalise on the new opportunity in terms of a higher yield and further subdivide and reap those benefits as well.
Oh, thanks for that, Dan.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay. No, now I'm going to to reiterate, and Amy, this has been a long journey. It actually started before this term, when the Manawatu Gorge Road collapsed. From the moment that new highway was set, we knew that this was a critical piece of work, and the team have worked long and hard to gather the data. And I guess, I'm really impressed with that data that is there, that forms the basis. It's a very, very good piece of work. It has taken a long time and many conversations. I do hope that in the consultation people really engage with this as we go through, because it does lead into the district plan, which is another critical piece for us. So I'm really proud of this piece of work. Congratulations to both Councillor Wards and Councillor Johns for chairing this, for working with us and for getting it to this stage, and also to the Chief Executive, because he's fielded many questions around our desire to have it reach this. So Councillor Wards, I'm going to look to you to move this document. And Councillor Johns to second. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Absolutely carried. Thank you very, very much, Amy. Thank you, Dean. I'm really sorry that that you have got COVID, and I hope that clears before Christmas for you.
No, thank you very much, Mayor Tracy, and yeah, thanks everybody, and thanks again. I just wanted to reiterate, it's really really helpful when you have such an engaging council in a process like this, and really appreciate the open conversations we've had, and looking forward to moving into next year. So thank you, and everybody have a good Christmas.
Thank you, Dean. And I'm sure councillors will be talking to residents right through this process and saying, have a look, let us know your views. Thank you. Thanks, Amy. Item 9.3. Adele. The Woodville Women's Institute proposed sheltered seating at Fountain Square. Want to speak to your report, Adele?
Thank you, Mayor Tracy. Morena koutou. You'll recall a report for the proposed shelter for Fountain Square came through the Community Wellbeing and Development Committee meeting in August. Since then, the Woodville Women's Institute has gone back to Positively Woodville and had further discussions and then reassessed their designs. You can see the revised design, as well as a supporting letter from Positively Woodville endorsing the design. It's just got some embellishments added on the top parts of the roof. So the Woodville Women's Institute, the key things to note is that the advised placement of this proposed structure would be on the southern side alongside the playground to give optimal use, and that their request is that that asset is retained by council, which would cost us approximately $12,000 or no more of to maintain every year.
Thanks, Adele. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Johns.
Yes, I was obviously at the meeting where it was put up to Positively Woodville. I see that the drawing here, the only embellishments that have been done are a couple of little pinnacles at each end, which is a start. My personal view is that instead of corrugated iron at each end, it should be timber and the structure painted to fit in with the main rotunda. It's a minor adjustment, but it will look a hell of a lot better, or a lot better than what is suggested. And with those comments, I'd move the motion conditional upon the corrugated iron at the end of the building being replaced with timber and painted to match the main rotunda.
Before taking the motion, Councillor Gilmore's also has his hand up. And can I just clarify, in making that motion, have you discussed with Positively Woodville your thoughts since that meeting?
There was a little bit of frustration in a certain person at that meeting. He got a bit frustrated, and my feeling at the meeting was, oh, for God's sake, let's just do it. And I don't think that's an appropriate way to handle an issue like this. But anyway, I'll be interested to hear Gilmore's comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Before I jump into that, I just have a very quick question, if that's okay. I just know for the Institute proposed locating shelter on the western side, and I would agree actually with facilities recommendation that it move to the southern end. I just wanted to double check that that's being communicated to the Women's Institute and that they're comfortable with that.
Thanks, Councillor Gilmore. I'm not aware of that. I would need to go back to them and talk to them about that, about our advice on where it should go for optimal use.
Thanks. Look, I do agree that it probably would fit in to where facilities has recommended. I don't often disagree with my esteemed colleague from but I was also at the meeting, and I do actually think that the date is a suitable compromise for a process that has probably dragged on a little bit longer than needed to be for a gift through to Woodville. My recollection of that meeting is there was probably a will of that meeting to agree to it as it was before embellishments. It was discussion throughout that about how we could perhaps tie it a little bit more and make it look a little bit nicer. The motion that was passed at that meeting, which is clear in the supporting from Positively Woodville, was that the committee supports it with the inclusion of embellishments. It actually was talked about in that meeting, as my recollection, that it could just be a couple of things put on the end specifically talked about. Personally, I think it would be unfair to kick it back through to further consultation. I think that it would tie in into Fountain Square, but I feel that the process is important. We've gone through a process in our meeting of asking for community committee's feedback, and we've done that twice to that committee. So very, very much respect what Councillor Johns has said, but I will be supporting the motion, the recommendation as written.
Thanks, Councillor Gilmore. Councillor Wallace.
It's for you. I just so blinking. Yeah, I'll talk louder. Blinking things. Can I get clarification on how many groups operate the social side of Woodville, please, and how much funding is given to two social funding sides of Woodville? I'm quite confused. We've got one here, one in Potiphar, and one in Tararua. We've got two in Woodville.
No, there's only one in Woodville, Councillor Wallace. No, there's only one, which is Positively Woodville.
Two reports, is that right?
Two meetings. They were both Positively Woodville meetings. Yeah.
And what's the 600,000 we learned about halfway through the year that has been put away for Woodville?
So the 400,000 plus interest was from the sale of reserve land.
What's the money dedicated for?
For it has to be recreational purposes as agreed by the community.
Oh, thank you.
I think it sits at around 450.
Well, I would agree with Peter Johns about the tin, because the amount of vandalism that's going on in our district at the moment is astronomical. So they can't, if they kick a bit of tin, it'll bend, but if they kick a bit of wood, they'll get a sore foot.
And I think Look, I was also at the meeting, and the woman from the Women's Institute are putting a significant amount of money towards this. They are really passionate about it. They've sat at the park. They've looked at this. When I saw the picture, I had thought, and this is where everybody has a different opinion of what that might look like. I had expected to see a little bit more embellishment, perhaps at the front, tying that in. But given the desire and the support from the committee, my only reservation would be that actually I think that is a significant change in the location that does need to be communicated with them, prior to this. But I'm comfortable with what's being presented, as opposed to going back, whether those conversations, when it's finished, could be something more, or whether Positively Woodville wanted to commit funds to that. But they have written a letter of support stating embellishments. Has Positively Woodville seen the picture?
Yes, the Women's Institute, I understand, is preparing to fold up after 100 years or thereabouts, and they have about $10,000 which they want to, when they wind up, and this is their signature gift to the town. So they don't want anybody else helping with it, because that waters down their input. The quote they got from Turton's and the design from Turton's, and on from there. I feel quite awkward about it, because I know the people concerned, and one in particular who's championed the idea, and it's a great idea, and I really support it. But I really think we're not talking about a lot of money. It won't cost any more to do it this way. I made the comment at that meeting, or I said, yeah, put some finials up, that sort of thing. That's all they've done. I think I made the comment, it looks like a chicken coop with the corrugated iron. And it does. So one or two people I've spoken to subsequent to that meeting were horrified when shown pictures of it. Horrified. So it doesn't take much to just change the iron to timber and paint it the same colours as the man rotunda with finials on it to tie it in. It's not a big thing. And I'd like to think that the person involved from the Women's Institute, if that was put to her, I would like to think that she'd agree. But just for the sake of getting the thing out of the way, I don't think we should say yes.
Thank you, Councillor Johns. Councillor Gilmore, before I make a comment.
Thanks very much, Chair. Yeah, I do very much appreciate where Councillor Johns is coming from. I suppose for me the challenge is those options weren't put to the meeting as a potential solution. I'm not saying that we just move ahead with it for that reason, but potentially they may be comfortable with doing, and I guess as the conversation going through, I'm trying to find a way forward that's fair for the Women's Institute, also follows process. If there is a belief that they would be happy to change to wooden, potentially we could approve principle it as a structure or a wooden panel design, or however we want to word it. I do think though that this picture, and actually the prior picture without embellishments, have gone through to a community meeting, and I think we have to back community committees. They go through to a community meeting, and those community meeting fairly overwhelmingly at the last one, wasn't at the first one, but fairly overwhelmingly were comfortable with it as it was without embellishments. They were actually happy for it to go ahead as it was originally done. through the conversation of a few people objecting, which is absolutely fair enough, a compromise was made at that meeting that they would add some embellishments. I don't think it's fair at all to kick it down the road. However, I am a little bit concerned if we are materially changing the location from what they. I think on that alone, probably to have another conversation with them and to bring them back to our next meeting. And then that perhaps would give some time for conversations to be had about updating their design to a wooden model if they so choose. My belief though is if it does come back too positive as it is, it will be the same. We'll get a recommendation that we go ahead with it. So Mayor Tracy, no, that might not be easy. I'm not sure of the exact way forward, but that would be the only reason that I would be happy to the next challenge, but I'm in support of it as it is.
Thanks, Councillor Gilmore. Look, I was in attendance at the meeting as well, and there is a feeling of upset and offence by the Country Women's Institute around this gift and some of the views in the meeting that wasn't reflected to them. So I agree with you, Councillor Gilmore. That's very difficult to have that. But I think in finding a solution going forward, we do have an opportunity to have a conversation. If councillors are in agreement with letting this item lie on the table perhaps and bringing it back, I am more than happy just to go and have a cup of tea and have a conversation with the Country Women's Institute members and just see if we can't bring some resolve in a nice meeting.
Thank you very much, Mayor Tracy. I wonder if it's worth us moving a motion that we support in principle the creation of it on the southern with a discussion about the location and design. So not sure quite how to word it, but
through that now. So supporting 1.1 and 1.2 within the supporting 1.1, amending 1.2 at a location in Fontaine Square.
Pending a discussion with the southern end of
Papatawa, Woodville Women's Institute. So that would read that council consider the request from Woodville Women's Institute to approve a building to be a sheltered building within the southern end of the Fountain Square, pending a discussion with Women's Institute. Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll just read that so it's very clear. That the report from the Group Manager, Strategy and Community Wellbeing dated the 14th of December 2023 concerning the Woodville Women's Institute proposed sheltered seating at Fountain Square be received. That the Council consider the request from Woodville Women's Institute to approve building a sheltered seating area within the southern end of Fountain Square, suburban sections 1 and 2, pending a discussion with Woodville's Women's Institute.
Answer that. With pending discussion with the Institute with regard to final designs.
So we have to consider it next after we made a decision.
The chief executive, there's two suggested changes to this one, that council approve the request from Woodville Women's Institute to build a sheltered seating area within the southern end of Fountain Square, suburban sections 1 and 2, pending a discussion with Woodville Women's Institute. And then Councillor Johns has added with final design.
Well, Tracy, you could say pending a discussion with
Women's Institute regarding position and final design. Because they need to approve the southern end part too, don't they? That's the change that's being proposed in this motion.
Right, good suggestion. And it is critical to get this right because it is now sensitive. Right, so 1.2 would now read that council approved the request from Woodville Women's Institute to building a sheltered seating area within the southern end of Fountain Square, suburban sections 1 and 2, Woodville, pending a discussion with Woodville Women's Institute with position and final design.
position and final design.
Regarding position and final design. Have you got that, Ellie, or do you want me to read that again? Thank you. And then part 3. Third part. You're comfortable with that? So 1 point and then 1.3, that council consider the request from
Council approves.
Right, these would be much easier on screen. Right, that council approved the request from Woodville Women's Institute to gift gifting the structure once built to Tararua District Council. The council would then be responsible for the ownership and management of the asset. Comfortable with that one? Right. Moved Councillor Gilmore, seconded Councillor Johns. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you, councillors. Right. Hey, item 9.4, the capital expenditure carry forwards from 2022 to 2023. So welcome, Mike.
Councillors, ladies and gents, present expenditure carry forwards for 22-23 into this current financial year. If you have the take the report largely through, I'm sure that you will have. There's a few questions floating around. So I guess we did the final report for last year's performance, and as a result, it's in that same sort of page, right? So we had some significant rain events going into it. Cyclone Gabrielle, a lot of staffing and a lot of resourcing was then redirected into those works. So we had a large chunk put into that. What I can go through here is just as well as that through the annual plan process that we went through, we obviously reduced that a lot as well, cut away a lot of that. We went through a lot of planning and forecasting. We went from, I believe, 33 to about 26 was when we finalised. So we did do a lot of reforecasting there. So we have been going through this with a fine tooth comb. We've been picking out a lot of these into the long-term plan as well. And as a result, we are where we are. We can see that we've got a request in here for the total of, where are we, 14.645 million into the next financial year. And while that is large, it does bring us up to around the same capital budget as we had for last year as a result of the work that we've done through our reforecasting and prioritisation of projects. We'll keep that going. I can step through the report if you'd like, Your Worship, or we can just go to questions I'm quite happy with.
Councillors, would you like Mike to step through the report or just straight into questions? Just go straight into questions. Thanks, Mike. Right, does anyone have any questions for Mike around this report? Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks very much, Mary. Just jumping to section 5.1 down the bottom, just curious, it's the third from the bottom, district promotion and economic development. And sorry to ask, you might not have it totally at hand. What are the district promotion and district support items on another district support and from the bottom?
In district promotion and support, we currently have some of the CCTV line items, some of this IoT device stuff, electricity ducting, and yeah, primarily CCTV stuff. Yes, sorry. So the promotion is the electric vehicles, electricity ducting we have there. We've done the the fiber ducting one as well as part of that. So, yep.
I guess the councillors are questioning, you know, CCTV and ducting and promotion. If a resident was to read that, they wouldn't make that natural assumption. So.
Sorry, Your Worship, can I just provide a bit of commentary? I take on board what you have just said, and as part of the long-term plan, we're looking to streamline and make these sorts of projects aligned to an activity which is more appropriate for them. So I think within the annual plan, these have been shifted to community support because the enablement of ducting and electricity vehicles of the likes are a support, well, enabling people to come into our district. So just making sure we're making that transition as we move into the long-term plan.
That's Sarah, and I think it is important because, you know, when people look at that and where that's rated from, we need to make sure that we're rating correctly from the people as well. Councillor Wards.
Thank you, Your Worship. And if Mike doesn't know what question I'm going to ask, then Raj certainly will. So the statement under 5.5, Mike, under that table, the impact is to increase our total capital budget from 26.9 to 41.5. What does that do to our headroom, please? Doesn't impact on it. We still have to service the
The headroom, the borrowings that are associated with this carry forward, whatever have been accounted for in the annual plan.
So it's included.
Right. So it's not a double dipping, it's not adding extra, it's just our actuals, we haven't borrowed funds as at 30 June 2023 for these projects because they've not yet been completed.
Right.
So that okay. Reassurance provided.
Okay. Supplementary to that then, Worship. What, as we go through the LTP then, Mike, do you believe that as we might reprioritise some of our work, these carry forwards that you've included in here might be affected?
There's only, I would say, a couple of projects in here perhaps that will be, but those are mostly the ones that we've like committed funds to a project, rather than the ones that we're looking at actually doing ourselves and delivering as an in-house construction workforce. From those ones, so that's we are working on a lot of these prioritisation pathways. We are including these as part of that. To get to this point, every single part of us has had to either have like some clear assurances into the work that we're actually delivering, and in coordination with this, we're still ongoing, you know, reforecasting and refinancing of the other, like this current year, as well as the rest of our projects. I mean, it's not saying that they don't need to be done, they need to be, and we are looking at just making sure that we're better with the financials going forward, in particular into the long-term plan.
Thank you.
Your Worship, not so much a question as a comment, but yeah, virtually half the capital project budget being carried forward is significant, certainly. I do accept that, yeah, we've had issues over the last 12 months particularly, but it is a worry nevertheless.
Thanks, Councillor Johns. Councillor Sutherland.
Thanks, Mayor Tracy. I think I would hope by this time next year we'll have completed probably. We should get rid of $7 million of this through Route 52 completions if we get a decent year, and so the roading's going to bring us back. I'm hopeful, comfortable if we do decent construction season, we'll get halve this with our roading network and be back to normality, hopefully a little bit. So, such a thing. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Sutherland. And look, I have raised with the Chief Executive, the carry forwards for councils will be a critical part of the Office of the Auditor General. They will be looking at these very closely as many councils have struggled in the same manner. I've also talked to the Chief Executive around new projects and, how many of those can be completed. So it's something that we need to bear in mind for the long-term plan. But I was comfortable with 6.2, knowing that these will come back and we do need to monitor these closely, councillors. So with that, we have a recommendation on page 285 that the report from the Manager of Programs and Projects dated the 15th of December 2023 concerning the capital expenditure carry forwards from 2022-23 be received, and that the Council approves the carry forwards as outlined in section 5.1 of the report of the Manager, Programs and Projects dated 15th of December 2023 for addition into the 2023-24 year's capital budget. Okay, I'll take Councillor Johns, then Councillor Wards. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Thanks, Mike. Thank you for the work. Right. Next item now. The Regulatory Services Manager is also ill at this time and at home, so there is certainly a lot around. So I will be taking the next report 9.5 as read. Councillor Gilmore, if you, I'll just ask you to move back from the table for this one. Okay, so I'll take that as read. Does anyone have any questions? Right. The recommendation that the report from the Regulatory Services Manager dated the 8th of December 2023 concerning the appointment of the additional list member for the District Licensing Committee be received, and that the Council appoints Scott Gilmore as a member to the list of the Tararua District Licensing Committee. Okay, okay, thank you. I'll take Councillor Wards and Councillor Franklin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And I'd also like to congratulate Councillor Gilmore not only on this appointment but on the very outstanding result that was shown with excellence in passing that as well. It is a very, very tough course and a lot of studies, so we look forward to being able to utilise those skills. Okay, right. Item 9.6, Ellie, request for information processed under the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act. Do you want to take this as read?
No, report, we've received another request for information, and 2 of the ones mentioned in the list have been closed out. So there's currently 5 open, ready, waiting closure.
Okay, are there any questions, councillors? Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks, Mayor Tracy. Not a comment. I think I mentioned something similar last time. But I find this, through you, Mayor Tracy, to Ellie, I find this incredibly valuable. There might not be one necessarily that will have questions or comments each time, but if there isn't, please take that as a sign that it's not of interest. I know it takes a bit of to put this together. I think it's really
Thanks, Councillor Wards and Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Bishop, and I can only endorse what Councillor Gilmore is added. There's an item there that is still open around historic data related to Akatio houses. I'm assuming that's through some funding that's been acquired they're doing some resilience assessments for the community around there, and I'm assuming that request has come from that consultant that's been contracted to do that. No,
This request is from Massey University and that one's since been closed out.
Councillor Sutherland.
Thanks, Mayor Tracy. It was just perhaps just a inquiry really through to Ellie and Brian. At our last meeting, perhaps, or after the meeting, Brian, I brought up the issue of the plans that, and a report that WSP supplied to our optioneering workshop in Wellington, and there's a request to me from a ratepayer, and we had some conversations about that report and another report about the confidentiality of perhaps, or the ownership of some of the drawings, the technical drawings and the engineers, and we thought we would give that some thought and hold back on that, but which is okay. But I see in here, Radio New Zealand are seeking the same. We're seeking all reports, including the original peer review of the project. So all reports that they would probably include those plans that were sent, that were actually in that 200 odd page report. That so I'm just thinking about this. So that I don't know whether Ellie yourself have got with this for Radio New Zealand. Those you may be redacting those, right? Okay.
Through your worship. Yes, so as Ali goes through this, she'll analyse all those reports to look at which ones might be commercially sensitive, which one may be intellectual property held by other organisations, and they will be withheld as per the Lagoima Act, which allows us to withhold information based on privacy, based on commercial sensitivities, etc.
Oh, that's good. So we'll have a look at that. And then you will as far as this rate goes, and that's all really cool.
Thanks, Councillor Sutherland, and you could also put that through as a Lagoima. I too find it a very, very valuable report just in seeing what is being looked at, but also it has given me a new understanding of just how much the increase in these requests is coming through, but the staff time and volume in responding to them. So that is, but it's good to see that transparency. So thank you. And I'm happy to move that report be received. Councillor Long seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Right. $301, noting the thank you letter there from Kaylee McNear, which was lovely to hear both about her trip and her learnings, so that was good. Right, we'll just move into receive the correspondence. Yep, Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Chase. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Moving into portfolio reports, is there anything anyone wishes to report on around the table? Councillor Gilmore, Councillor Wards.
Thanks very much. Just a very, very quick one, just in relation to the minutes that we received from Woodville, just to note, pleased I am to see. So,
agenda. So I'm so pleased to see that a few of the agreement is agree with that group.
and just through our meeting to thank positively their patience, some of that process, the work that they do, the Woodville community.
Thanks, Councillor Gilmore, and thank both you, yourself and Councillor Johns for working with that committee as well. It's been greatly appreciated. I'll go Councillor Woods, then Councillor Wallace, then Councillor Johns.
Just a quick one. Thank you, Your Worship. I attended the final Pongaroa Way to Go committee meeting last week, and I guess it was fair to reflect that this time last year I was wishing them Merry Christmas and saying let's look forward to the next year. And but we had a brief discussion around the impact, obviously, of Gabriel and the new language that we now have around east and west on the coast road, and some of the other social matters that have happened to Pongaroa in the last year. But I think it's fair to say they're ready to move on. They don't want to see any more clipboards or high-vis jackets. Extremely grateful for the support they got, but they just want to keep moving now. And it was at that meeting in particular that they wished me to convey their sincere thanks to everyone around the table that has supported, because there's not one of them that couldn't say they haven't received some input or support from any of us around this table, but particularly, and I'm glad I had the opportunity at the infrastructure meeting to acknowledge the work of the Alliance and the Downer team and all the contractors that just picked up their digger and got on with it. So they're in good heart, and they, on behalf of them, they wish me to pass on the best wishes to you at the table.
Thanks, Councillor Wards. Is that, can we just pass some of that feedback through to recovery as well? Just
That's why I said to Dawn at that meeting, but yeah, overwhelmingly they know they've been well supported over the year, and they're very grateful for everything.
No, thank you for that. And I'm sure there'll be many that will be actually celebrating the end of 2023. It's been one very challenging and uncertain year.
I was doing good business that night.
Right. Councillor Johns.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd just like to make on behalf of the Woodville Lions Club, thank Council for the support they've given for the Walk the New Road project for both Woodville School and the Woodville Lions Club. Tickets have sold out, and they're now extending it another hour. But I imagine by the end of this week they'll have gone too, so it's a sellout again. But thank you very much for the work that the eyesight staff have put in. I know they've had sore ears and constantly on the phone, and they've done a superb job. But thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Johns, and Brian, if you can reflect that back, because the staff have been absolutely run off their feet. It's always a great Christmas gift as well, and there's a lot to work through in that. So, yeah, they have done a great job, including processing mine. Thanks, Councillor Wallace.
Just on a report, sorry. Yeah, I was talking to some people in Northwood about looking at, and I saw it mentioned in the minutes there, regarding finding some old bodies out at Northwood Cemetery, outside the cemetery. So we're working together with, but she's also mentioned maybe she's talked to you. I'm not too sure.
Yep, and I think I've know who you're dealing with. She has been working with the facilities team, and I did have a chat just around how the Ekirahuna Settlers Cemetery was investigated, and that was with some voluntary time and equipment. So I said I wasn't sure whether that would still be available. So she was having those conversations. So I have passed that information on to facilities who were working with you. Yeah, thank you. That'll be a Norsewood settlers or pioneers part of a cemetery. Right, are there any further portfolio reports? I guess from me, just moving into Merrill Matters, it has been an incredibly tough year, right from the outset with, facing inflation insurance, interest, Cyclone Gabrielle, and a long-term plan have been really tough on this council, on the staff, on our residents. And certainly, councillors have been working very, very hard throughout the year. So I'm sure, like everyone, we'll be looking forward to that break. But I just wanted to thank and acknowledge you for that hard work. I can't recall us ever having so many meetings, so many heavy agendas. So very grateful for that, but also very grateful because the community's never needed yourselves more in those connections as well. So thank you for that, and thank you to the team of staff that are here as well. Just on the towns and the community committees, the Christmas parades were fantastic, but all our towns look great. People have really put some effort into making those shops and spreading that cheer. So as I drive through, and especially at night with the Christmas lights and everything in all the towns, actually brings that Christmas spirit and makes it all worthwhile. So I just thought I'd acknowledge that as well. In 2024, we'll look to bring a paper to council just in regards to the cyclone. After we've sort of had a meeting with the recovery team and worked through, I just want to make sure that the MPI grants that people have also applied to the Merrill Fund, and then we'll look to bring a paper to council just so that we can go above the monetary figures that we have got to those that have been most impacted, and just see where we can provide that little bit more help. So I'll be looking towards that in the January meeting, getting that there just for that little bit of an update. So I'm sure there'll be some of those out at Tararua as well. So thank you very, very much. There were no, if there's nothing further, there were no items on the agenda. I will, before we go, what I'll do is I'll move into public excluded side of the meeting. I'll close the formalities here, move into public excluded, and then we'll adjourn for morning tea. So, and come back. So if I could have somebody move that we go into the public, well, actually, just wish everybody that may be watching online a very Merry Christmas, happy 2024, and may it be one that has less challenges for the Tararua district and for our people. And I wish everyone love, peace, and the joy that Christmas brings. Right, I will move us into public excluded. Can I have a seconder? Oh, that was quick. Councillor Chase. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And now I'll adjourn us for morning tea, and we'll take 15 minutes and be back online. Thank you.